Hello, booktubers. This is the Scholar Gentleman, and been meaning to get to this for about a week now. Today's booktube book report is going to be about Nicholas Best's book called 7 Days of Infamy. And what it is, it's a basic, 7 day time frame, a real time reaction to the bombing of Pearl Harbor by the Japanese. And of course, it was very, very informative. And they covered the reactions of everyone from statespeople to average, servers in a restaurant, that type of thing. Some people who kept journals and diaries back then, and it really gave you a sense of immediacy. The United States was in the war now. After months and possibly a couple years of kind of like hemming and hawing and pearl clutching on all levels, from political to social to military, everything. Now it was clear. The lines were drawn. You get the impression that they were worrying about Germany, but meanwhile stuff was happening in the Pacific. The Japanese were sort of taking over more and more territory, so the United States was kind of like, and of course Franklin Delano Roosevelt, I'll call him FDR from now on. FDR was kind of wondering what to do. He didn't want to be the first one to declare war. So, in a nutshell, in a sense, I don't want to say in a way, the Japanese kind of did us a solid by attacking first. And there were lots of spies in and around Honolulu, attaches, everything, like basically taking notes and taking knowledge, taking notes and reporting the knowledge back to handlers in Honolulu, and ships and subs right off the coast. One thing I did learn is apparently before the attack actually happened, there were two miniature subs dispatched from the main sub, as the entire convoy made its way over from Japan. Those two little miniature subs were dispatched. One was sunk during the attack, and the other one was captured in the aftermath of the attack. And he was captured. I don't know the gentleman's name, but the operator of the midget sub, they called it, midget sub, was captured. And since he didn't commit suicide, he didn't commit hara-kiri, rather than be captured when he went back to Japan, he was pretty much persona non grata. He was, pretty much shunned, because Japanese society being as it was, I mean, if you surrendered, then you were less than human. And which is why a lot of Allied captives were tortured mercilessly by the Japanese, because they didn't kill themselves before they gave themselves up. Instead, they're less than human. So, of course, they didn't feel the need to, well, many of them, not all, but many of them didn't feel the need to treat the prisoners in a humane fashion. Yeah, I mean, in a way, it was ingenious for the Japanese to attack when they did, because it was Sunday. It was a sleepy Sunday. People were sleeping off their partying the night before. And yeah, the thing that struck me about the book was that it really kind of put you in the situation. For while you're reading it, you kind of forget, because hindsight's always 20/20. You're reading this thing. We all know how the war turned out, for good or for ill. But at the time that you're reading it, I mean, it puts you right there. Just like today, now we don't know what the future is going to hold as far as politics goes, and as far as world events go. It really conveyed that sense of, how is this World War Hitler thing going to shake out? I mean, are we going to get, you had your isolationists, of course, and of course you had the people who were like raring to get into the war. Yeah, it was a really really immersive book. I'm glad I read it. I was whipping right through it. What it seemed to take forever to ramp up to the actual attack because they were setting the stage meticulously. They gave you the author gave you the whole view in Europe first. You know, they set the stage there, and then they gradually moved you over to Japan, and then they gradually moved you over to Pearl Harbor and what was going on there, and the whole military setup there and everything like that. You know, and everything, like I said, everything from ambassadors to Navy personnel. It was really educational read. It came as a 2 book set on Amazon. On Amazon, the other one is will have to do with the with VE Day coming out of the war, and but I wanted to take a break before reading that, um, just to kind of pace it out because you want to feel as if some time has passed because the war lasted about 5 years and it didn't just end. Everyone seems to think a war is going to end. Oh, it's about to end. And Hitler thought that when he was pushing his troops towards Russia, and suddenly the Russian winter basically froze the German army in its tracks, possibly even turned around the war because they couldn't go any further. But yeah, that got mentioned. Um, yeah, glad I read it. Um, I wanted to read I wanted to read Slaughterhouse-Five. A little PS to this whole thing. I wanted to read Slaughterhouse-Five at the end of this because I've always wanted to read it, and I use the subject of one book to jump into another. So I figured, well, Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut Jr. is it's an anti-war book. It took place in World War II, and I'm also a time travel freak. So I wanted to read it, but of course I wanted to buy myself a copy, an ebook copy or something like that, or get it used. And I'm trying to watch my pennies right now, so I didn't feel like paying $9 for. So I basically decided to dip into the Internet Archive. Now, if you've never checked out the Internet Archive, it's basically an online library. You can set up a free account. You can borrow anything you want to. It's a little fiddly in how you navigate the book, but I found this. I'm actually 3/4 of the way through Slaughterhouse-Five, and of course I'll do a proper book report when it's time. But I've been in the Internet Archive for about 3 days now, figuring out. I'm glad I have because basically sometimes you know I'm my the zero room downstairs is teetering with books, and I kind of don't want to. I mean, if you buy a lot of ebooks, it kind of adds up after a while. So I'm glad I discovered the Internet Archive, and I highly recommend that you do the same thing. If you're looking to read a book but you don't want to spend the money on it, that's what libraries are for. So the Internet Archive is it's just packed full of stuff: historical, library books, fiction, nonfiction, ads from. It's just it is what it is what it says. It's an archive of human knowledge, of human endeavor, and I'm glad I discovered it, and I highly recommend you do the same. So that's my book report. Hope you folks are doing okay, and we'll speak to you soon.